Let me tell you guys what BLM is. BLM is essentially just social terrorism, cultural terrorism, social terrorism, cultural terrorism. Here's the thing why I don't support BLM. All right, none of these people, none of these black dudes who got shot up, black dudes, black women who got shot up, killed, or whatever, none of them are good people. Every single one of them got a record that's pages and pages long for attempted murder, for robberies, for sexual assaults, etc., etc. And here's the thing, I'm not a fan of cops. Previous to this whole BLM riots thing a couple years ago, I was the most anti-cop person you could probably come across. But here's who I hate more than the cops. It's the freaking pieces of shit criminals that are out there. Here's what's worse than all these black people protesting for these absolute horrible criminal motherfuckers. All right, here's what's worse than that. All these white people who essentially live in mostly white neighborhoods, some of them probably gated neighborhoods where they probably see one or two black people, throughout maybe the whole entire day. Maybe they see like a black cash register, cashier here and there at the gas station or whatever, and they think this is the people who they're fighting for. All right, what you're fighting for is a bunch of criminals who don't care about your life, who don't care about anybody else's life, who don't care about their life. Now, this video is particularly to this Tico Sundberg situation. Apparently this lady was a victim of his who shot him. And then you have these stupid pieces of garbage, white and black protesters, telling her that they should support, that they're there to support this horrible criminal, Tico Sundberg. I don't care if this guy got killed. Actually, yeah, let me tell you something. Just don't commit crimes like that, okay? Like if you rob, if you rob places, that's a little bit different. You might, robbing places for your needs because you can't afford certain things, or you got or it's a necessity because it's a life or death situation. That's one thing, all right. But to take a gun out and attempted, shooting or attempted murder of somebody for probably no reason, because these criminals, they just do that just for the fun of it. They do that just so they can brag to people. Going to jail to them is like getting a diploma. It's just absolute backwards to them. So if that's the lifestyle that this kid had and he got shot for it, that's just one less person that society, needs to put money towards or be responsible for. Another less piece of garbage life that needs to be fed. Okay, if you're that kind of person, you don't deserve any kind of support. All right, I understand situations arise. I understand, people going through different kinds of adversities that might put them in a certain situation, a mindset. But a lot of these guys, the mindset is crime is good. They romanticize crime. They romanticize jail. They don't care. All right, they're sociopaths, they're psychopaths without any kind of morals. They don't care about this lady's life. They don't care about the life of all these protesters that are protesting for him. All right. During the whole BLM protest a couple years ago, I ran into these situations where, everything's locked down, but they have these protests going on in different communities. I'm like driving around because there's nothing else to do. These people would be, I'll go to maybe drive around like, a semi-white neighborhood. It'll be like a whole bunch of white people out there having BLM signs, etc., etc. Hell, I even remember one time I was in Brooklyn, and this white lady with her white kids playing on the sidewalk had BLM signs. Look, why support this whole BLM movement that essentially says Black Lives Matter? Why support that movement when you guys don't support the other minorities who are harder working, who have better morals, who don't commit crimes, who actually do their best to live the best life they can, to live the American dream? Why don't you guys support them? Why isn't there a Red Lives Matter movement for the Native Americans so that they can get their land back? Why doesn't that exist? Because the Native Americans essentially are the most victimized group in this country. There is no other group that is more victimized than the Native Americans, all right? It's been 600 years since they had their land stolen from them. It's been 600 years since they've had genocide committed against them. They're still living on internment camps, reservations. They're still probably some of the poorest communities that exist in this country. These black people that you guys are protesting for, they could always go back to Africa. You white people who are protesting for these black people, you guys can go back to Europe. There's no need for you guys to be out there doing this whole BLM garbage, all right? There is a totem pole of victimization in this country, and apparently these blacks and these Jews skipped the line over the last 25 years, all right? There's no reason for there to be the first black female Supreme Court justice when they have never had the first Native American male or female justice, the first Asian American male or female Supreme Court justice, the first Latino male justice, the first Arab American, the first Indian American male or female justice, all right? Supreme Court justice. And this whole BLM garbage, I have my theory on why this exists, as far as these people, these billionaires like George Soros committing money, committing time. Somebody who's so separated from these groups, you would question why somebody with such a background as theirs would actually have any interest in BLM or the trans movement, or etc., etc., etc. And here's the reason why. 1995, apartheid ceased to exist in South Africa. South Africa was given back to the blacks, or whatever the case may have been. They had a merging of ownership of South Africa. And my personal thought about America is essentially a stolen land. It was stolen from the Native Americans. The Native Americans are living on reservations. Native Americans have been over the decades actively seeking the United Nations for a mandate so that they can get their country back from white people. And George Soros, playing the whole social environment, the whole cultural environment as he is, I suspect that the guy does this just to take any attention away from the Native American fight for them to have ownership of their country back. So as long as he could keep this whole black storyline and the whole trans storyline, the whole LGBT storyline in the mainstream spotlight, it takes any spotlight away from the Native American cause of getting their land back. All you whites and blacks can actually go back to your own country. You guys can take a ship trip back to your country. You guys can take a plane back to your country. The Native Americans, they are the original owners of this land. They can't go anywhere else. This is their home. Yet, with 600 years of misery, with 600 years of genocide, with 600 years of land stolen, why is it that you guys focus on this BLM garbage? Why do you guys focus on this BLM garbage? These are criminals. Stop focusing on these people. If you guys actually want a cause to take up the cause for the Native American so that they can get their land back, so that they have ownership of this country, so that you whites and blacks can move out of this country, and then you guys could figure out a way to settle your ridiculous history of whatever it is that is still in the mindset of black and white people these days. All right, the last 25 years have been absolutely ridiculous as far as how and where this country went, as far as the whole social environment, as far as the whole racial environment, as far as the whole environment, the cultural environment. It shouldn't happen the way it happened. Black people have no business being where they are in 2022, not because they're black, but because this country exists because people built it from merit. And if you look at the, what black people have achieved over the last 25 years, what did they actually achieve over the last 25 years as far as merit is concerned? All they do is protest, all they do is bitch, all they do is use the race card, etc., etc. The Jews do the same thing. It's social terrorism, social thuggery. It's cultural terrorism. It's cultural thuggery. They did not do anything as far as merit is concerned to be where they are in 2022. And that's a fact. President Obama, I don't think he actually deserved the presidency. Personally, I don't think he deserved the presidency. I think Asian Americans worked a lot harder and deserved a spot in that presidency. I think Latino Americans worked a lot harder, deserved a spot with that presidency. I think Indian Americans, Arab Americans gave more to this country as far as trying to live the American dream than black people have, as far as, being the first minority president of this country. And I'm sorry to say this, I'm not being racist. It's just a fact that this country went off the scale of who you get what you worked for. It went from you get what you worked for to you get as much as you protest, you get as much as you use your race card, you get as much as you bitch, which is absolutely wrong. So to all you white people who actually go out and support the whole BLM movement, fuck you. To anybody else who support the BLM movement, fuck you. To the blacks who support the BLM movement, fuck you, because all you guys are essentially doing is supporting a bunch of criminals. If any of these black folks were decent black folks and this stuff happened to them with police brutality, I would be out there in support of BLM if that was the case. But unfortunately, this is not the case, okay? They're nothing more than a bunch of thugs, a bunch of criminals, a bunch of people who don't care about their life, don't care about your life, don't care about anybody else's life, and they probably deserve to have the consequences that exist with the lifestyle that they lived.